Press-Highbridge Company and the Mysterious Press present He Done Her Wrong by Stuart M. Kaminsky, read by Stephen Bowlby. Original material copyright 1993, Stuart M. Kaminsky. Recording copyright 2013, Highbridge Company, and recorded by arrangement with MysteriousPress.com, LLC. Chapter 1. The best-looking Mae West in the room, outside of Mae West herself, was a Chinese guy named Richard Horn, who wanted to be a comedian. I counted no less than 40 Mae Wests in the room, at least one of whom was a thief. I met Mae West the last day in April 1942, a cool day with no sun. I had called her number the day before, after talking to my brother Phil, and a man had answered and told me to come out the next morning. The man then told me how to get to her ranch in the San Fernando Valley, and I told my mechanic, No-Neck Arnie, that he had to turn all his magic on to keep my 34 Buick going a few more days. He had taken half my last fee to repaint the car and fix the dents an angry elephant had made in it. "Oliver ain't gonna make it through the summer," Arnie had said, shifting his cigar to the other side of his mouth and rubbing the new black paint job. "You shouldn't sink any more gelt into it, I'll tell you for a fact." It bothered me that Arnie had named the car Oliver, since I always thought of it as a female. "I can't afford a new car," I explained. "Inflation is here, Arn. My income is low. Cars are hard to get. The war." He wiped his greasy hands on his greasy overalls, spit on the roof of Oliver where he saw, or imagined he saw, a taint in the paint, and rubbed his sleeve on it professionally. "I know a guy can get you a 38 Ford Coupe for 200 cash and no questions," he said. "Runs good. If I get 200, I'll be back." "Suit yourself," he shrugged in a not-too-bad imitation of Randolph Scott. I suited myself and headed for the valley. The car sounded fine most of the way. Instead of listening to it or the radio, I went over what I had picked up from the LA Times files the night before. The few private detectives and all the cops I know claim to have friends at the newspapers in town, reporters or editors who do favors and get favors back. I've got no such contacts. There's not much I can offer besides a little inside information on a few stars, and I make whatever living I've got by keeping my mouth shut. When I was a kid, back in 1925, a Jewish gangster named Dave Berman became a minor folk hero by refusing to testify against his friends in a kidnapping case. "Hell, all they can give me is life," he said, and the kids back in Glendale and across the country picked it up as a catchphrase. For me, it was more than that. Berman may have been a kidnapper, but he had something to sell: loyalty and nerve. I was dressed right for the meeting. A new 100% all-wool tropical worsted gray suit I picked up from High's Clothes for him for $22.50 new. $4 more got me an extra pair of pants. The tie was a striped blue thing I'd been given for my birthday back in November by my friend and next-door neighbor at Mrs. Plott's boarding house, Gunther Worthman. Driving down Laurel Canyon Road, I saw a sign reminding me to conserve food. So I stopped at a little neighborhood market, picked up a dozen eggs for 30 cents, 3 Lifebuoy soaps for 17 cents, and a box of spoon-sized Shreddies for which I didn't ask the price. Some things are essential even in inflation. With the groceries safely in the trunk, I continued out beyond the cluster of valley towns and into the country roads at the foot of the mountains. Mae West, according to the guy at the Times I had to bribe to let me see the files, was pushing 50 and pulling down maybe $300,000 for each movie she wrote and acted in. She was in the middle of a divorce from a guy she hadn't seen in 20 years. She'd been under a lot of pressure from groups claiming she was a bad moral influence, and she hadn't made a movie in 2 years. But that one, My Little Chickadee, according to the Times morgue guy, who looked like the paper in his files, fragile, old, and a little yellow, had earned a pile of money for
Sample complete. Ready to continue?